In this world of technology, things are ever changing, rearranging. You need someone to help you out. I know someone who can. Come and take a journey with me as we go through the land of technology. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul Amadeus Lane in the Tech Zone.
Welcome back to the Tech Zone, third and final segment of the show. Quick recap of what we talked about. First segment, we talked about giblets, or as we found out the correct pronunciation through Google, giblets, and how my moms used to cook that when I was growing up, and how I thought collard greens were pronounced collard, collard greens when I was growing up. I had a lot of fun. We also talked about esports in our last segment, and we had our very special guest on talking about esports and gaming, and just the whole hype behind it. Really enjoyed having her. Well, in our last segment of the show, we're going to talk about the body and making sure that we're taking care of our bodies and things that we can do out there just to make sure we are doing things the right way. As you know, why do I always say that? I need to come up with something else. Okay, let me try it. Okay, I cover a lot of events. And different events, different topics. I went to the Expo West event down in Anaheim. And it was a pretty amazing event. We met a lot of vendors on the health food side. We sampled a lot of things. Don't make the mistake I did if you ever go to Expo West. Don't eat before you go, because there's a lot of samples you can taste. Well, as I'm rolling down one of the aisles, I am so full. And this beautiful woman came up to me and my wife, and she said, "Here, I want you to try this." And I'm like, "I am so sorry. I am so full. I can't eat another bite." She said, No, you have to try it. She was very, very, very persistent. And we decided to taste it. And I'm so glad that she stopped us and was so persistent. That experience right there really changed my view of a lot of things. You know, I'm pretty health conscious. I got a chance to talk with them about the products that they have, but the story behind the products was really just what really blew me away. And I talked to her son, who happened to be the founder of it, who's a medical doctor. And I had to talk with him about unlocking the technology in the body so that it runs properly and how food can do that. So I invited him on the show to give us some insight on this matter and how his company is really helping us to meet the challenge of making sure our bodies are working right. And I'm so happy to have with me right now a person that I talked about in the beginning of the show that is just so much brighter to me when it comes to health, the human body. I met him at Expo West in Anaheim, and I wanted to bring him on to share his insight with us, talking about Dr. Jonathan Carp. Jonathan, how you doing, my friend?
Good, thank you. Great.
Great to have you, and you still have that wonderful smile like when I met you. That doesn't go away.
Thank you.
So, hey, let's first talk about just the technologies that we were created with and how it was designed to burn food, to burn calories. Because, you know, we have so much information when it comes out there. Please help us understand and navigate through all the minutiae so that we can really find out what's going on.
Well, I think one of the ways to look at it is actually, since you use the word information, is to think about it as information, food as information. Because when we eat food, it is essentially giving our body instructions on what to do with it. And sometimes, especially these days when we have people at food companies designing foods in such a way that sort of bypasses the natural, way that our bodies read the food information. As an example, certain combinations of fat and sugar, they just bypass everything. And in a lot of ways, they go straight to our brain, bypassing a way for our bodies to sort of process it in a way so it knows what to do with it. So it not only does it trick the brain, but it tricks the body with this massive amount of calories that we see. When you're eating natural foods, and you can go down a big rabbit's hole here, depending on how much you want to go. But when you're giving your body natural food, it knows how to process that, and it uses it for your health. Discerning what that is, figuring out really what the natural foods that your body needs are, can be tricky for some people, because a lot of times we all have different genetics and we respond to foods in different ways. That's why there's a book called The Longevity Diet, written by a Dr. Walter Longo, who says eat from the plate of your parents or your ancestors. He says eat from the plate of your ancestors, because your genetics have evolved over thousands of years to be able to process certain foods and not other foods. And that is sort of getting your body the food and the information it requires to be able to express itself in the most natural way. And so this concept of eating from the table of your ancestors is such that we learn from our ancestors. Our genes adapt over thousands of years, and we can figure out what it is that we should be eating. I mean, that's just one sort of aspect of it, but you can get into all kinds of things. But ultimately, it's thinking about food as information and realizing and understanding that the information that we want to get is, the closest to the source, hasn't been altered by humanity, by mad food scientists, and really getting back to basics. And some of the foods that we eat these days, we sort of feel that they're natural, like white flour and sugar. They seem to be things that have been with us for many, many years. But these also bypass the natural mechanisms of your body. Your body doesn't know how to process that information. So obviously everyone knows sugar is not good for you, but look, we've grown up, our grandparents used sugar. We need to sort of go back even further than that to sort of figure that out. But how it bypasses your body, as an example, with white flour, it's been taken, all the fiber's been taken out. It causes your blood sugar to spike, and your body has trouble adapting to that. And, your body's amazing. It can adapt. It tries its best to adapt. But every time your blood sugar spikes, you are causing damage to your body. And anytime, the reason that is because when blood sugar gets really high, it binds to a protein. And when it binds to a protein, it's what's called irreversibly bound, which means it's never going to unbind. It's stuck on there forever. And that's why diabetics, for example, get hemoglobin A1C. That's a measure of this binding of sugar to protein. And it's an indicator of aging as well. In the skin, it causes wrinkling. In the muscles, it causes stiff muscles. Obviously, when people have diabetes and the ophthalmologist looks in the eye, they're directly seeing the effects of sugar binding to protein, and this causes some of the problems of the eye. So just as is an example of one food that causes all kinds of problems. I could certainly go into a couple others that we sort of think of as natural foods, but maybe we should really reconsider. Would you think that would be interesting for your listeners?
Let me do this right quick, and I'll answer that. Let me just get my shot back up, because I think this is very fascinating. I'll edit it in, and here we go. Absolutely, I think it'd be interesting because, even though we focus on technology out there, but what I like to do is always introduce new content to the audience who may not be interested into listening to a health show or a doctor talk about weight. So we kind of hit them at a different angle, but really talk about the technology in the body and the way that we were created. So yes, please preach on, Dr. J.
Okay. So another thing that they'll like as natural, which really isn't all that natural, is some oils, vegetable oils as an example. Things like corn oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil. These things didn't exist beyond maybe 120, 130 years ago. And the reason that they are brand new foods and they're not good for you is because, let's just take corn oil as an example, thinking of just technologically speaking. Most people out there are going to be able to think, well, an olive, as an example, or a seed, these have fat in them naturally. Nuts, as an example, a nut oil would make sense because nuts are fat. So you should be able to get some kind of oil because oil is a fat. Well, think about corn oil. corn, what do you have to do to a piece of corn to get a whole bunch of fat out of it? Well, the answer is you have to do a lot, and it's like an organic chemistry lab. And as a result of that, you're left with a fat that's been really damaged. It's been oxidized. And when things are oxidized, that means that they've been, damaged by oxygen. And when we eat those things, again, thinking about it from technology perspective, from an information perspective, you're introducing into your body a food that has already been damaged. And so your body goes into a repair mode right away. So as an example, with a rancid, so you could use the word rancid and oxidized as the same thing. So even though it might not smell rancid, they have ways of covering that up. So they deodorize the oils before they put them in the bottle, even though they're just absolutely almost 100% rancid. So you ingest these things and they are rancid. You're giving your body information saying that I need to now repair. So all the beneficial things that you would eat, say, in leafy greens, the antioxidants that everyone's heard about, those things, instead of upkeeping your body, are now being forced to counteract the effect of eating all of this rancid oil. So you do have to be really careful with oils. So you want to make sure that when you're eating fats, you get them closest to the source. So obviously a handful of raw nuts or seeds would be ideal, or high quality olive oil, something that's been used, for thousands of years. If generally speaking, the rule doesn't always follow, but if it's been used for a couple thousand years, you have a good shot that it's probably not going to be that harmful for you. And so that's sort of one rule to think about, because when we bring in modern food technology to bring up lots of different flavors and ways of preserving food and creating cheap foods like some of these vegetable oils that are very, very cheap, we do it at a real disservice, because it's almost like speaking a different language to our natural bodies. And so that's something that we have to be really careful about.
I'm glad you shared that, because, so often, we think that we're doing the right thing when it comes to putting food in our bodies and eating healthy. And it's good to get some authority from someone like yourself, Dr. Carp, to help us to really know what's going on out there. And I remember when you and I talked, when we met last month, not a recent trip, but a few years ago, you took a trip to Japan. And while you were in Japan, you kind of discovered something. You mind sharing that with our viewers and listeners out there?
Yeah, so, I took a trip to Japan. Now, since then, I've been many times. And Japan's really an amazing place with people who live a very, very long time. They have the longest duration, longest life expectancy of any country. And they really stick to their ancestors. They eat just like their ancestors did, which sort of proves that other point. But when I was there, I went to a vegan restaurant run by Buddhists, and I was introduced to this product called konnyaku, which is basically a zero-calorie food product made from a plant. It was invented by Buddhists over 1,000 years ago as a food that was beneficial for the gut because of the fiber content. And I was served these noodles, which were virtually calorie-free, and I was just so blown away, because I thought of the fact that a lot of people need help, foods that can help them transition to a healthier diet. Because a lot of times our bodies, when we start to change, when we start to make decisions that are going to impact our health in a positive way, our bodies fight back in a real mean way, because we're addicted to certain foods, where our bodies become dependent on certain foods. And when we transition off, it can be very, very difficult. So getting back to Japan, I saw these noodles, calorie-free, and I thought this would be amazing for people who are transitioning away from an unhealthy diet, learning how to eat healthier, because it provides that sense of comfort food. Having noodles, pasta. We also have I started a company called Miracle Noodle to bring these things over. So there's different shapes of noodles and rice as well, to give people a comfort food experience while they're learning how to eat healthier. And, for some people, that is just a matter of learning how to cut carbohydrates down. But for other people who are just learning to eat healthier, who are just trying to increase the the quality and the quality of their food, away from processed foods to more natural foods, having the ability to eat noodles and rice again without having to worry about the calories of those things, as well as adding, soluble plant fiber, just was amazing to me. And that was one of the reasons I started the company after I came back from that trip.
Now, was that kind of a transformational moment for you because you thought a different way at that time? And talk about just the way you had to change your mindset, or was your mindset already there?
I think it was already there in the sense that I was already treating patients from a nutritional perspective, from not as a prime part of my practice, because I still am a conventional doctor. But I always raise the issue that there are other ways of doing things from a lifestyle perspective. But honestly, a lot of patients aren't really, they have to come to that on their own. You can't really convince or necessarily force people to be able to make the decision to take on lifestyle changes for their health. They often have to come to it on their own. But I do believe that it's doctors' responsibility to at least share the information that, yes, there is an opportunity. There are options for you. Most people don't know, as an example, that 2/3 of patients with diabetes can reverse their type 2 diabetes. And I often mention that to some of my patients, and they're just blown away that their doctor never mentioned that. That, literally, over 60% of patients with type 2 diabetes can completely reverse their diabetes with lifestyle intervention. So I think it's a doctor's responsibility to at least mention it. But, everyone has to come to that on their own. And that's something you have to honor everyone's sort of journey on that road.
Now, when it comes to when you went to medical school, how much time did you spend on learning nutrition? Because I've heard some statistics out there of how much doctors, are really taught about nutrition in school. Can you let us know, how much did you had in school?
I don't really remember any particular lecture about nutrition beyond just what we learned in biochemistry about how, and that really wasn't nutrition per se. It was more like how protein and how sugar and fat was processed in the body. I don't really remember any lecture on nutrition actually at all. Wow. in my medical school at all.
Do you think?
I think they're doing a little more now, though.
Okay, that's good. That's good because I've heard before that food can be considered medicine at times when we take it in, because there's a lot of things in there that can help us out. There's some medicines out there that are derived from the plant lives and things like that.
Of course, most are. Yeah, it's just I think that it is a challenging thing for doctors. I think that everyone, just like I was mentioning that patients have to come to it on their own. In a lot of ways, the doctors have to come to it on their own. I came to it because I had I dealt with a serious medical condition around 2004, and I started to look into natural methods for myself, and then at the same time, coincidentally or not coincidentally, from a I guess a divine perspective, I had a patient who came in who I was treating for lupus. And I had her on all kinds of horrible medicines, couldn't get her under control. And I got her off some of the stronger medicines, and she disappeared for a little while. And she came back many months later off of all medicines, and she had basically cured herself. And I said, my God, what did you do? And, she shared with me information. And this, in combination with my own health journey at the time, really opened my eyes to not just the fact that that food is medicine, just like you said, but that there's actually published literature to show that there are all kinds of lifestyle and nutritional things that you can do that have been documented in the medical literature. And, they don't get in the big journals. So it's hard for doctors, just trying to keep up with the new medications that come out. It's really hard for doctors to be open to that perspective. I mean, that's become a big passion of mine. But in a way, I don't necessarily blame my colleagues for not feeling comfortable with it. And also, unfortunately, a lot of doctors and the medical field in general they don't feel like people are strong enough to make lifestyle changes. So even though they know, most of them, that making significant changes are going to help things, they don't really think, one, that patients will do it, and two, they don't really have the training to be able to teach people how to do that. And I think that now we're seeing lots of other people helping out, dietitians and health coaches, and there's now functional medicine and naturopaths and chiropractors all sort of jumping on the bandwagon of the fact that now more patients are becoming interested in being more of an authority for themselves and making those lifestyle changes. So I think there are exciting times happening now.
But what you did is, as we say, you flipped the script to the point that not only did you create these miracle noodles, but man, they taste good too. The pad thai is good, the curry is good. I mean, not only did you make it good for the body, you made it also good for the palate. Talk about that challenge.
I'm, owning a food company, being a doctor and then owning a food company without any business background, I guess, has been challenging. But yeah, we worked with people to try to get the flavors right, because we have some ready-to-eat meals, as you mentioned, and those are great because you can just have it as a substitute, lunch substitute, and it feels like a full meal, but you're getting a small amount of calories and a good amount of fiber. So, but we have lots of other flavors coming out, so it's been a challenge, and we've had a lot of fun with it for sure.
I tell you, you guys are definitely on the right side of history, when it comes to this, because, you talk to people that you love and care about. Oh, let me fix my tie. Sorry. That looks kind of weird. I got to edit that out. Wow. Here we go. Bam. Well, we talk to people whom we know and love who have some health challenges, and sometimes the mindset that they have, they're like, well, I'm going to eat whatever I want. I'm going to do this and that. And you bring up a very good point, how we can't force anyone, to make the changes. They have to do it. But I think what you guys are doing is going to make that choice a little bit easier for them when they taste these products. I mean, you guys even have, I was looking at the website, gluten-free buns. So if you want a burger, you can do it with the buns now, right?
Yeah. On the website, miraclenoodle.com, we have, there are zero carb, actually, the buns that we sell on our website. So for people looking to cut carbs, which is, there are lots of opinions on what the best diet is and such, but there's no question that, most people know whether or not they're eating too many carbs. So most people. So if they think that they are, they're probably right. And, having some carb-free options like buns or our noodles or our rice definitely, makes it easier. And like I said, if I had the perfect situation, people who are thinking to themselves, I really want to make the change to eating healthier. Well, this is one of those things where you can use this product as a crutch, to be able to say, okay, I'm not gonna feel hungry, and I'm gonna start to plan my diet better. I'm gonna eat natural foods, avoiding the processed, refined flours and the oils, and unnatural types of foods, but I don't want to feel hungry, and, a lot of people think you don't have to just go straight to eating a salad every day and cutting everything out, but you can use this as you're transitioning to making healthier choices, whether that's just for one meal a day. We have people who just switch to swapping out the carbohydrate in one meal per day with Miracle Noodles. And you could, there are benefits just to saying, okay, I'm only going to start out with one meal per day. You don't have to. I don't recommend anyone just goes quickly to change every meal of your day, because that's not sustainable. The real way of doing it is to write down or to think in your head of one thing that you can do that it's impossible to fail. That's what you need to do. And that could be as simple as maybe you're not drinking enough water. Okay, that's impossible to fail. I'm going to drink one more glass of water every day. make it so simple you can't fail, and just slowly build those things into your diet. And then the other thing I tell people is that it really takes 21 days to establish a habit. We don't ever we get up, we brush our teeth, and it becomes a habit. And just like brushing your teeth is a habit, you can make healthy eating a habit. It's really the same thing. You just need to make it consistent, and just don't focus on 1 year's worth or a lifetime of change. Just focus on 21 days. And normally by the end of 21 days, it becomes a habit. For some people, it's maybe 35 days. Or a recent book that's really great called The One Thing said that the average person, it's like 60, 65, or 66 days. Anyway, the point is that you don't have to focus on a year. You just need to focus on 21 to 66 days. You can mark it out on a calendar and say, okay, I am going to do for the next, month, this, I'm going to eat 1 apple per day, or I'm going to have a small salad once per day, or whatever it is, whatever healthy intervention it is, and just focus on that. And then the habit just builds. Don't even think about it for the future. Just put it on the calendar and say, okay, let me give it a shot, and it'll become a habit, and then it'll be easy.
Awesome. Dr. Jonathan Carp, before I let you go, is there anything else out there you'd like to articulate to the viewer and the listener out there?
Well, anyone is listening that is, has thought that they can't get control over some health aspect. First of all, realize that it's your responsibility to become your own authority, in a sense. You can use your doctor as a great resource, but it's on you. And you're the one that needs to basically learn what needs to be done. But there are so many resources out there, and there's so many guides, and there are so many people out there that have done what you've done. Everyone thinks that they are sort of alone, and their situation is unique. But I guarantee you, if you just do a little searching, there are people out there that you can learn from. And I would encourage all of you to not necessarily think that your doctor has all the answers, that you need to go internally and sort of become your own authority, and you can do it.
I love it. I wish you were out here in California, because I would make you my primary care physician. You make me almost want to move out to Florida, because as a doctor, you speak in my language. You speak in the language. I appreciate that, and thank you so much for joining us. And we'd love to have you back on later on and talk some more about the great information. I think we're all enlightened by what you're able to give us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Huge shout out again to Jonathan Carp, Dr. Jonathan Carp. Miracle Noodle. You got to check it out. If you go to my website, paulamadeouslane.com, if you go there, if you go to About, you'll see a link there for Miracle Noodle. Click on there, get you that sample pack, check it out. I am going to try to become one of their ambassadors. They don't know it yet, but I'm going to do it. And I'm going to spread the word about this, because it's delicious, it's good for you, and it's really educating our mind on how we can take care of our bodies, unlocking the technology in our bodies so that it runs properly and we're able to stay as healthy as possible, as healthy as we can. All right. That's the end of our show. Until next time, take care, folks. We'll have some more great guests joining us on the next show. Until then, take care. Love y'all.
In this world of technology, things are ever changing, rearranging. You need someone to help you out. I know someone who can. Come and take a journey with me as we go through the land of technology. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul Amadeus Lane in the tech zone.